Hello, Dragon Count. And if you have questions, by the way, guys holding their arms up right now, line up there for your question. And we will be getting to those very shortly. So I just want to first set the stage. About a year ago, the show debuted back in September. Had an amazing story, amazing special effects, a new take on the fairy tale genre, of course. So how, sort of going down the line a little bit, how did each of you guys first find out about the show and your involvement in the show? How did that work out, and what was your first feelings about this concept? Sure, go ahead.
You know, for me, I have to admit, it was just another audition. And my agent said, I have an audition for this pilot for you. And I thought, oh, great. And okay, it's a fantasy thing. And it's Geppetto and another guy. But then I went home and he sent the script. And I read the script. And I said, whoa. It's really, really sort of wonderful, which is dangerous if you're an actor in a kind of way, because you don't want it too much. You don't want to be a part of it to get in the way of your audition, because you think, okay, this is something I want to do. And that happened with this script, I have to admit. And it was a peculiar audition, because in the pilot, there really wasn't that much for Geppetto to audition with. So the casting person gave me a whole other sort of scene from a different material. And I auditioned with that. And so it was, I was really thrilled to get it. So, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it. So.
And didn't you have to carve a block of wood? He had to carve a block of wood.
Whichever actor made a living puppet got the part.
Yeah.
You know, just as Tony's talking, it's just a wonderful thing, because Tony and I have known each other for 25 years plus, and we're both in a theater company in Los Angeles, and when I heard that my best friend on the show was actually a dear friend of mine, I was so thrilled. It was just sort of a total coincidence. So we have chemistry.
Yeah, it made sense.
You know, picking up on what Tony said, having read the script the first time, I thought, oh, this is fantastic. But it'll never work. I mean, they'll never be able to make it work. I mean, come on, this is too good. I mean, on the page, it's fantastic, and how can, it's so ambitious. And then we were all invited to a screening. The executive producers invited us to a screening at a big screening room, and we all sat there. It was just a cast, and we watched it, and we all sort of were slack-jawed and literally just knocked out. Holy smokes! It's even better than what it was sort of on the page. We were just sort of amazed and thrilled. It sort of far exceeded our expectations, and it has over and over and over again. I can sort of say this. I'm a huge fan of the show. I love the show. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, one of the things that really turn us on as actors is good material. You know, I mean, we're only as good material. Like, if you give us a great script, even decent actors look damn good. And this stuff jumped off the page. So I agree, Tony. It was a job I wanted. You know, I mean, I played pirate for Disney, and I'd done some other stuff for Disney. So I'm down with you know, the association with, like, these are stories that are your stories. And what's brilliant about what they've done with this and with this material is they let it be what you know to be true about the characters, and then the beginning and the end. They stay true to the fairy tale, and it's the middle. It's the stuff that we don't know in the fairy tales, is that's what's going on in Once Upon a Time. And that's what really thrilled me, and that's what I think they've done such a hell of a job on nailing it, and why we're all so thrilled and excited. And yeah, it's an honor to be a part of this show. It really is. It's a thrilling ride, and we're so glad that you guys have elevated us to a second season.
In which actors and writers absolutely have the shared experience. You read the material and you say, this is a good show, I want to be on it. Oh my God, now I want to be on it. Now what am I going to do? And I went in and met with Eddie and Adam and discovered they were Buffy fans. This is a turn of luck. And so I was very happy to get the offer to come join the staff. And yeah, it's in that Buffy the thing that we did at Buffy, these guys respect and do really well, which is that they're always thinking about what is the reason to tell this story, and what is the emotional journey for the main character of this story, what we used to call the what's the Buffy of it. And these guys get that, and so that has made, I've never regretted for a second taking this job, because and then it's a hit. Like normally I go, I never regretted taking this job despite the cancellation. But a network hit, that's crazy to have something this fresh, this concept, this flexible and yet focused, and to have it be a hit is wonderful. It's just great.
And we have questions out there? Questions?
Hi, this is for Jane.
Hi.
I just had two really quick questions. So, where can I find you for autographs? Because I've been trying. And is there going to be any queer canon coming up at all?
For autographs, I did my 2 autograph sessions this morning and noon, but I've got a panel tomorrow morning at I think 10 o'clock for husbands, and if you come to that, we'll make sure that you get a chance to meet me and the guys, and I'll sign something for you. We'll work something out. Queer canon, you'll have to keep watching. I actually asked what I could say about that and was told to say, you'll have to keep watching.
Hey, sorry guys, no flash photography. I forgot to say that before.
Hi, I just want to say I'm a huge fan of this show, and one thing that I love about the show is that I care about the characters in a way I never thought I would, and I was just wondering, what is your favorite part of doing the show, since it has this core to these characters that everybody knows, that we never had a chance to look at them in this way before?
I mean, gee whiz, the thing that's so thrilling about what, again, the writing stuff, what Lee just said, is just in terms of the writing being smart, and it never panders, and it always kind of is surprising. You know, I had so many people walk up to me and say, God, I never realized that was Jiminy Cricket's backstory. and I take the compliment.
And dwarves come from eggs.
Right. They made this stuff up, right? But they make it seem like, of course they come from eggs.
Well, I mean, I think too is that, you know, within the scene structure, new things will be revealed about the characters, but at the same time, it'll always go back to, like, say, for Grumpy, it's always going to come back to some smart-ass comment, you know? And I think that ultimately that's what's thrilling for us, is that, you know, we make the emotional investment. This is a dangerous business we're in, you know? As actors, what we get paid to do is make dangerous choices, not only physically, but emotionally vulnerable choices, and that's what you respond to. And that's what the material demands. And so, for us, I mean, we love to work with each other. We've been lucky that we all get along and that we all hang out off screen and it shows up on screen, because we do care about each other. So when you see me love on Ginny Goodwin, that is a lot to do with Lee loving on Ginny Goodwin. You know?
Yeah, it's funny for me, because, you know, we have stories where we're there and then they tend to write a story that deals specifically with the character. And so it was very easy for me in the Stranger episode, because essentially they reduced it to an immigrant story. You know, and what would you bend the truth for? What would you bend your loyalty to? And you would bend it for your children. You'd do anything for your children. And there was a real hunger, and it touched me personally in a kind of way. For that, the notion of sending a person away. Now, you know, it's when I was talking backstage, now, no matter where you're from in the world, you know, it's pretty much easy to get there. You know, it's really not a problem. And if it's not that, you know, Noble.com, you're talking about 3 cents a minute to talk on the phone. But the notion of just 100 years ago, or 80 years ago, 60 years ago, of sending a child to a new world, to America, if you will, to Storybrooke, was a huge thing, and you wouldn't see them again. You know, and you know, there's sort of part of my background that remembers that. And so it was really, really potent for me. And, you know, to have sort of Raphael trying to put me on the straight and narrow about that, and there was a fierceness they created in Geppetto's character, and I thought it was great. And oddly enough, several friends in Italy sort of emailed me, and they were sort of delighted because generally Geppetto is this sort of, you know, sort of slightly foolish, sort of older guy. And they said, oh, finally, someone, you know, latched onto a kind of fierceness with him and the need to protect. And I thought, thank God, good, I'm glad you saw that. And it was fun to act. So it wasn't as much a present that you just simply take from the page and you give, you know, to a TV audience. It was truly something the actor could open and go, oh boy, okay. And so it was easy.
And also too, it's something great that you said too, and as I feel like when you read these scripts, we don't know what's going to happen, right? So that script will come from like permission from Eddie and Adam. Here's your copy.
Yeah.
And this stuff resonates. Like when it's your story, I'm going to guarantee you're crying when you read that stuff.
I couldn't stop crying when I got my story.
When I read the Dreamy thing, dude, I'm bawling, you know, because I'm going to get to make out with Amy Acker.
Things that I love about what we do, and I'm sure if I sat here longer I'd find 10 more. One of them is that we find emotional, motivated explanations for why fairy tale characters do the things they do, which are always sort of undermotivated. You know, why would a person go after power when they could have love? Oh, because they have fear. It's like, that's a really deep sort of psychological truth. You apply it to Rumpelstiltskin. Rumpelstiltskin has always been as this sort of very unmotivated character who's all about like, if you know my name, you can control me, and then says his name out loud. Like, it's like,
so passive aggressive.
Yeah, let's figure out let's take Rumpelstiltskin seriously. What would drive a person to be this sort of trickster? Like, oh, figure out a way to make it make sense. The other thing I love is when we do mashups and we put characters together and sort of reveal that they were in the same story. Oh, it's Beauty and the Beast, but Rumple was the Beast, or I bet you didn't know that Snow White's prince and Cinderella's prince knew each other. Like all that stuff, I love that when you sort of go, oh, the world had people whose lives crossed the way they do in the real world. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it really is as if these characters inhabit the same world.
Yeah.
So that, you know, when we're in the fairy tale world, yeah, I mean, Grumpy works with Charming. There's backstory. And we pick up kind of mid-story. It's a very late point of attack. It's a classical theater technique where you start after the actions kind of happen. And then they'll telegraph it back. And what's masterful, I think, is the way that they manipulate all of us, the actors, the writers on the staff, and certainly the audience into feeling these emotions. And it's that stuff, I think, that resonates with you guys and what turns you on and why it's become must-see kind of television.
What a lot of people have said, too, was that they were very concerned going into this when they said, you know, this is Disney, and it's fairy tales, and it's ABC. Some people said to me, oh, God. I'm not sure if I want to watch that. And, you know, the story that I tell a lot when I went to my audition for this part was I asked the guys, do you want a Jiminy Cricket sound alike? And they had a very simple response. They said, no, we just want it real. And I feel like that is kind of the sort of the thumbprint or what they have really given all of us in a way. They've given all of these characters an extraordinary amount of respect. They have self-respect as well as, and also they're not pandered to either in the playing or the writing. And as a result, I think that's why we care about them. I mean, I find that when I watch, and I care about these guys.
Yeah, I think anyone who dismisses our show as being for young people or young and any are missing all of the drug, sex, and rock and roll references.
You got some more questions here?
No offense to Geppetto, who just made this case on why you sent a 7-year-old child with a baby to another world, and they were scared, and he shirked his responsibilities and left her alone to grow up without a parents. But anyway, I came away from The Stranger thinking Geppetto was a real jerk.
Good.
And I was wondering if there was going to be any fallout from that now that people in Storybrooke know who they are and know what happened maybe with the wardrobe, and if there was going to be something redeeming about Geppetto, because I want to like Geppetto, because Once Upon a Time has done something that I've never done, and that's actually like Pinocchio characters. So I would like to like Geppetto again, but I don't know how.
Well, number one.
There are therapy treatment programs here.
Number one, you know, that's that's the reason why you have to watch the second season. That's what's called a hook. That we need to get you back. And number two, you know, I really, yeah, of course, as an actor and you know, a fan of the show, I would like you to like me, but I don't need you to like me all the time. And I actually loved the fact that there was some, you know, we're human beings. We are capable of anything. The great thing, you know, for an actor, they used to say, if you can kill a fly, then you can imagine yourself killing a human being. We are capable of anything, and it's all within us. And it's just a matter of getting to it. And often in acting class, Raphael and I had a similar acting teacher. He used to talk about the smell of goodness in an actor, which was the need to be liked. And he would talk against that you really need to go against that. And consequently, you could look at it that way with Geppetto, that he sent a child, a young boy into the world with a baby, or it was the need to make this child his survive, and not just hang around, and you know. And I believe that 100%. I'm behind that. I think if you ask yourself as a parent, anyone who is a parent in this room, I think it's there in us. And so I have no problem with that. Now, if they write 6 or 8 episodes to get you to like me again, I wouldn't mind it.
More questions?
Yes, this is Raphael.
This might actually be,
Are we going to see Dr. Hopper in a bigger role this season?
You know, I'm told that there's lots of new things coming. I'm not entirely able to say, answer the question, but only because we're not supposed to talk about it. But I can say that a lot of people have asked me that. And I take it as a compliment. I thank you.
You got other folks?
Hi, my question's for Lee. As an actor, when you open a script and say, oh, eggs, hatch fully clothed and ready to go, what does it take for you to get there and make that authentic?
You know what, I go for it, guys. I mean, the way I look at it is, you know, it's a puzzle. Each scene is a puzzle. I'm in class every week, you know, I study, I go to my coach, I think about it, but at the end of the day, I just look at the words on the page and say them.
Ooh, I like that.
And then I say them, and then I say them again, and I say them again. Tony Hopkins, you know, he used to teach his acting class in this laundromat in Santa Monica, because he liked these hot chicks. And I heard about it, so I used to go there, just hang out and have a coffee with like Sir Tony Hopkins, and listen to what he said. And he had this thing where he would do his lines aloud in his room 200 times before he ever went to the set. And 200, man, I tried to do it 25 times, right? That's a lot of repetitions. He would always do it aloud so that he could hear it in his mind's ear what the character would say. Then by the time he gets on the set, Jane's not gonna like this, but I've never gotten a job by getting all the lines right. And honestly, it doesn't even matter what I say, it only matters how I say it. So what you do is you run these permutations, you go through it a bunch of times, and then on the day, you just look the fella in the eye, try not to hit the furniture, hit your mark, get the hell out. I mean, I swear, I've met actors, guys, I've met actors. I had a buddy of mine, Faustino, plays my brother Sleepy on the show. He had a 2-line part on The Killing. And he was super excited. I mean, this was his first role playing Sleepy. He comes to my room up in Vancouver, stoked about his performance and working on The Killing in addition to being on our show. And he's like, oh, I changed this, and I thought about this, and I did this. And I looked at him and I go, dude, do you realize that you've thought more about the 2 lines on The Killing than I did 3 pirate movies, all my Seinfeld, you know, I'm lucky, I just plug it in and go, man. And I trust that everyone else is gonna help me shape where I get to. It's a team effort, what we do. You know, and we just happen to be the lucky guys that stand in front of the camera and get a lot of the credit. But what we do is a big team effort, and TV is a lot about, it's always led by writing. You need 22 badass scripts. Then you hope your director understands what the writer's intent is. And then you just hope that the studio gives you the budget to shoot what they want to shoot. So, just go for it, don't think about it. Let her rip, baby. Woo!
have to ask Jane very quickly, do you have certain characters that are tortured characters like Jiminy Cricket and Rumpelstiltskin? Is that sort of something you're interested in writing, or is that something you're drawn to?
Oh, to write pre-existing characters and make them, and figure out ways to make them real. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. That's one of my favorite things. It's like, you know, it's been a very long time since someone has typed the words Jiminy Cricket. Which, like now dialogue. Okay, what does Jiminy Cricket say? Who writes for Jiminy Cricket? I love that. I love being able to delve into a classic character and figure out how to make them make sense. And yeah, that's a huge thrill for me. And I got to do it on other shows. I wrote an episode of Buffy in which Hansel and Gretel appeared. And I got that same sort of thrill there of like these characters already exist in some form in people's minds, and how cool to make them real.
The thing that's been exciting for me too then is because these Disney characters have been around for so long, is that I found, maybe you have as well, that the range of the demographic, as they say, is sort of 8 to 80. I mean, my kids watch the show with me. They're 7 and 9, just turned 8 and 10. We huddle up on Sunday nights and watch the show. But, you know, my mother is 80, and she grew up with these characters, and just is so sort of enthralled by the stories, and what you know, whether you know them or you're just being introduced to them, they seem to work on 2 levels, and again, it's a very masterful thing that they're doing. It's not a small feat.
Why don't we introduce the actor playing Mickey Mouse? Oh my God.
The movie Jumping the Shark, right about that. Not that was a bad episode of Happy Days. I kind of liked it. It was like,
Look at the bell out there in the audience. Is that Belle I see? Holy cow.
Thank you for tweeting me eating my French toast this morning at the Metro Cafe. I was in the blue dress.
Yes, I tweeted a picture of them. So you came with both Belle outfits, so you could change me. Oh my God, you're fantastic.
Thank you. My Babette's right over here. I wanted to say, first of all, thank you very, very much for coming, and we fans are really appreciative of you taking the time to answer our questions. And my big question probably doesn't surprise you. How early on did you guys decide that Rumpelstiltskin would be the Beast? And for that matter, how far out are these storylines sort of generally planned or written out? How far ahead do you guys think?
We think, well, it depends at what level of specificity. At the beginning of the season, we sort of do very broad strokes of, okay, this is where we're going this year. Then, you know, before each clump of maybe 6 episodes, we sort of do it again with a little finer granularity of, okay, so then this will happen, and this will happen, and this will happen. You get a little more refined. But an actual decision like that could be something that's figured out in advance. In fact, it wasn't. The Rumpel is the Beast was figured out as we were going, like, okay, we're going to do Beauty and the Beast. Oh, hey. Like, we were all, if I'm remembering it correctly, we were already planning a Beauty and the Beast and then realized, wait, we have a Beast right here. Let's do this. So it just totally depends. And you can't tell in retrospect. You can't look backwards and go, oh, I bet that was something figured out earlier, or I bet that was something added late. There's just so many moving parts that all of that stuff gets smoothed over.
Next question.
Hi. I love the fact that you have real actors that are dedicated to their craft. And Jane, I'm just so glad you're here. First of all, I want you to stand up and show us that knockout, that dress that is absolutely gorgeous.
I don't know if this is really popular to man, if it's just one very nice lady.
Okay, I don't understand why when people are talking about on the entertainment shows, the costumes about this movie, you know, in the genre of the olden times. Honest, the mayor, as the queen, has the most gorgeous, gorgeous costumes.
Yeah.
It's just so gorgeous. And I just want to tell you that it is replacing Desperate Housewives because it's got 3 strong women.
That's right. That's right. There are very few shows like that where the top of the call sheet has so many women, and it really comes out of the history of fairy tales. Think of what's a well-developed male fairy tale character. There are very, very few. We are lucky to have these 3 fine gentlemen because we've got a lot of girls, and I love it.
It's a tough business. It's a tough business.
Those girls are knockouts, though.
Yeah, but they're tough guys, man. You ever seen like them wield a sword? They're all asses, you know.
Writing strong women who are driving story is a wonderful luxury, and there's a very rare thing that happens in any sort of scripted entertainment, which is 2 women in a scene without men in it, and they're talking about something other than men. It happens very rarely. It's called the Bechdel test, and our show passes it all over the place. We had a scene recently that you guys haven't seen yet, in which 2 of Prince Charming and another male character have a scene where and we realized like how rarely do we see that? We almost never see 2 of our guys sitting down talking to each other. It's like a reverse Bechdel. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's, as we say, cray-cray.
Another question?
Hi. This question is for Raphael.
Yeah.
After being cast as Karth Onassi and Kay Nalenko, were you concerned that you would spend the rest of your career typecast as the sexy hunk?
Oh, thank you for that question. I have to tweet that, excuse me. I've done, for those of you who don't know, I do these video games, Mass Effect and Knights of the Old Republic. And I've loved doing them. They have a small audience. And they are a great pleasure. It's sort of weird in that I got cast as Jiminy Cricket, and obviously part of the role is voice acting, and they didn't necessarily, they knew nothing of that. It's just sort of a weird coincidence. I play Mass Effect, or have played Mass Effect a little bit, and it's very odd to be interacting with myself as Karth, or in this case, as Caden. It's an odd thing, but it's a great joy being a part of that community.
And I just had to ask Tony, were you blown away by that scene with the whale, Pinocchio, and that was just a huge visual effects scene?
Yeah, it was, it was sort of interesting. I was up in Vancouver doing a new series called Continuum. Thank you. And wouldn't you know it, I'm in the midst of that, and that's when they write, the Geppetto storyline, and Geppetto Pinocchio story. So I'm thinking, oh, God, this has to happen, and I read the script, and I have to admit, again, I'm so glad you guys shared. I wept when I read my.
We are saps.
And I couldn't believe it. And but here's the thing. I thought, okay, are you weeping because it's just a good role? So, I read it like 3 days later, and I wept again. So it's just, and it's, when you're in a hotel room in Vancouver, I'm thinking, okay, I got to get my wife up here quickly. But it was terrific because they worked it out, and it was a great workout in that we were on a beach. And then we were in this tank, and the tank work was amazing. And I arrive, and they say, okay, we're not going to put the little boy in with you. So I'm thinking, okay, so they give him a microphone and put him up. And they gave me a workout that day, and I loved it, I have to say. I just loved being in, they had 3 humongous fans and wave machines, and there's, and you're just going up and down, and you're getting hit with some of these waves, and let me tell you, so you're trying to figure out a way of how not to, get it right in the face, but you're up there, and I was great the whole day. The first kept trying to ask me if I needed to get off, no, but I went home that night, tried to get on my computer, and all of a sudden, for the rest of the night, everything's moving, and I have to say, that scene with Monstro, it was nominated for an Emmy in visual effects, so that's a testament to the show.
And also, just because you mentioned the costumes have also been nominated for an Emmy as well.
Yeah, and the makeup for Dreaming. So. us up. Yeah, but it's great too, because that's another thing. It's like, you know, we shoot in Vancouver, we call it Hollywood North, and you know, a lot of credit for the success of the show goes to the real people that work as the crew. Okay? So I'm very happy that we were nominated in the technical department, and recognizing, obviously they should have nominated the writers, in my opinion. But
They'll get to us.
Eventually, you know, but the true heroes of what we do are the guys day in and day out that toe the line in the rain, in the schmutz that is Vancouver. It's beautiful, but it gets wet up there.
Rains a lot.
Yeah.
We sit in a comfy writer's room in Burbank, and at lunch we watch dailies and go, oh, they look so cold.
Yeah.
So wet.
Everyone's looking like a Michelin man. It's like 50 layers under there.
New question here.
Two forwards to my question. One, thank you. Thank you all, Jane, Lee, Raphael, Tony, the entire cast and crew for breathing new life into old fairy tales that gave us hope and dreams. Thank you so much. Second, Lee, for a character called Grumpy, you are awfully cheerful.
Yeah, it's only name only, right? But it's interesting because the fact that the dude was born a dreamer. I like to say, you know, look, there was a happy accident. He got touched by this fairy dust. But even when he loses his true love and kind of does the right thing and lets her go be a fairy godmother and he goes off to the mines, he's still a bit dreamy. Because you can't wipe that fairy dust off, yeah?
My question actually touches on that.
Okay, go for it. Sorry.
My fiancé and I are an unlikely love story, and we were told we were doomed to fail. So if you were given the chance to, the truth has come out, the magic is revealed, we all know what's going on now, and so do the characters. If Grumpy was given a chance to write his love story, how would you write the finishing story for Grumpy and the Fairy?
Dude, they're hitting the boat, man. They're gonna hit, it's a funny thing, it's like that dating thing in Storybrooke. It'll be me and Nova and our 8 kids, and they'll be, you know, Doc and Sleepy. We'll all be there. It's gonna be an interesting relationship. I hope Amy's up for it.
Well, you know, the interesting thing too, I bet the 3 of us would probably agree that the last things that we'd want to see written after our character story is, and they lived happily ever after. We do not want to hear that, because then the story is over, you know? So we actually enjoy the complications.
I think the happy ending for this show is syndication. So let's get there.
Next question. Oh, over there.
Whether it be romance, tragedy, or triumph, or anything, what was your favorite part of the first season and why?
Favorite what?
Best scene, in your opinion, whether it be romance, tragedy, triumph.
Or like which one of those they want to play for the next year?
No. Whether or not your favorite part was romance, tragedy, or triumph, part of the story. What was your favorite part of the story, first season? Why?
Romance. I got to write Skin Deep, and that was my favorite.
No, specifically character-wise. Like the apple eating of the, I forget the kid's name. I'm sorry. But
I actually literally can't hear the words. Can you hold it loud?
Romance, tragedy, or triumph from the story.
Hold the microphone straight in front of your face.
All right.
Romance, tragedy, or triumph? Which
or
part?
any category, the story-wise, what was your favorite part and why?
I think my answer was good. Romance.
Yeah, I'm gonna go romance too, man.
No, character, as in kid eating the apple, she kissing him, and he's waking up.
Oh, our favorite scene?
Scene, yeah. That's the word I said.
You know one of my favorite scenes is actually in that Mad Hatter episode. I love this thing. Sebastian gives this impassioned speech about how he's tortured, blah blah blah, and then Emma Swan just goes like, she clocks him whenever she's like, oh, what'd she say? Like, oh really? She does one of her Emma Swan thing. I was like, because that's the thing about the show, is that it's reverently irreverent. You see? You get to a point where you expect us to go right, and we fake right and clock you with the left. and I think that's what I love about it, and it makes it a sexy show. You know, because these characters seem real because they take twists and turns that you don't expect.
My favorite moment, not really a scene, but a moment when Snow and Charming see each other in the finale and recognize each other.
Yeah, well, those two have no chemistry, so I mean, I don't know how they pulled that off.
I love actually I love the opening moments of the pilot, where the big date, you know, where you think it's going to go one way, and you have it's sort of a Prince Charming who's there with her, and she's a big, you know, she's put the boot on his car. Do you remember way back when? And she sort of chases him down. I just love that.
Slams his head into the steering wheel.
Yeah, sort of your typical date, you know. I think it's sort of it was terrific. But you know, I have to say I loved Lee's birth. Again, was a great moment coming out of that egg, and you know, I loved Raphael telling off Lana. You know, finally just standing up. I love that, and yeah. There's so many moments, and I have to say, you know, I mean, you guys know me from other series, which I was very, very grateful for, but this is one of the few series that I literally have watched every single episode that we are sort of fans, and it's
and also it's rare too. I would say that, like, I think all of our favorite moments are someone else's moment.
Just because they're both here, I've been answering in terms of all the. There's so many different scenes that have gone through my head, but there's the scene in the pilot where Lee where he rings the bell and says, "It's coming!" I love that. And then I remember this. The last moment of your episode, Tony, where Pinocchio says, you know, do you want to come in? You invite him in, and he says, I like to fix things. That just killed me. I remember just being knocked out by that. You know, it's so thrilling to go to work with such wonderful artists, and then also just to see how it all comes together. It's pretty remarkable.
It's a happy show. Can you get that? It's actually a happy show.
We actually have fun up there.
Yeah.
New question here?
Hi, this is for all of you. How has working on the show affected your life?
How's working on what?
How working on the show affected our lives.
We can pay our mortgages. Always good.
Gee whiz, there's so many ways in which, I mean, let me say is that I've been an actor for a really long time. I've had lots of different wonderful ups and downs. I've never been on a show that is of this size, that really, it has such ambition as a show, have it then also be such a success. And both sort of, you know, now with the internet and with how these shows are traveling, not just here, but literally the kind of the tweets that we get from all over the world are incredible. So how this, you know, not all American shows, as they say, travel. This one travels, this one's got legs. So that's also quite remarkable, and it's a little overwhelming sometimes because it sort of takes my breath away, the scope of that. But it's a really interesting experience. I mean, I sort of realize now, I was just saying to someone in the cast, you know, one day when you read my obituary, it will say Raphael Sbarge, the actor who formerly played Jiminy Cricket. You know, these roles have will leave their imprimatur on us, I believe, long after we're gone. It's a big feeling.
I know that there's a big difference in my life. When I used to tell people I worked on Buffy, the most common reaction was, "Oh, Buffy the Vampire, I don't watch animated shows." And then I went to Battlestar Galactica, where a common reaction was, "Is that still on from the 80s?" And you know, we think of these shows as big hits, but that's because it's a big hit in our community. Now this is a network hit. I don't have to say a show called. I can say I work on Once Upon a Time. I don't have to say a show called Once Upon a Time. That's really nice. I've had a long career, and it's really nice to be on a network hit where people know what you're talking about, and where something this geeky, that's this much of what we all are, is now being seen by mainstream people as worthy of their eyes.
And because of you, Once Upon a Time was the highest rated new show of the year last year.
I get people asking all the time of like, oh, oh, are you coming back? What can I do to support the show? It's like, we're doing good. Like, people think because it's good that it must be in trouble. It's not. It's doing awesome.
Okay.
Hi. So a lot of the backgrounds in the fantasy world are computer generated. So you film a lot in front of green screens. What are some of the challenges working in a room with very little surroundings?
Working in green screen?
Yeah.
I mean,
we have this thing called the Zeus system that we work. It's Jim Cameron's system. So, like, I've done a lot of green screen work over the years in a lot of the pictures, and it used to be, you'd have to really activate your mind to kind of figure out where you're at. But we have this amazing kind of set. It's got all gridded all over, so that what you see, like when we're looking at it, is, a green screen stage with some tape to show where the hallways are and a couple key pieces of furniture. But they're watching it on the monitor fully rendered. It gets fed through the computer. The computer generates the image of whatever the scene is, including shadows on the floor, exactly where there'd be from imaginary chandeliers. So we're able to actually go and say, oh yeah, that's what we're looking out the window. So technology is advancing and really helping us when we get into those green screen situations. And listen, man, it's almost like being back in college or drama school on the day. Because you're still going to pretend like you're in a dark and a low-ceilinged hallway when really you're in a giant stage. So it's a combination of the technical abilities of the computer and, of course, our imaginations.
I was talking to one of the visual effect guys as well, and he was saying one of the exciting things about kind of the technology as it has sort of moved along, that in terms of the ability and the speed that they have now able to do what they're doing, what Lee has just explained, and also then after we're shooting, it allows us to sort of give this show this kind of level. The quality of the image is so high. It's what you would more imagine to sort of see in a feature, which of course takes almost a year to produce.
Well, for example, when I did Pirates, right, Pirates of the Caribbean, the first movie when we were the baddies, when we're in the moonlight, thanks guys, they used to have to lock all done with a locked-off camera, no movement from the camera, right? Then they would layer the film on it. So you would do one as a reference, where you'd actually play the scene. Then, say the cursed guy would step out, the guy I'm fighting with would do a mime. Then he would step out, and they would shoot a clean plate of it. And then they go back up to ILM and layer, layer, layer to get your image, right? By the second movie, a couple years later, they were able to do the Davy Jones crew in full light with moving camera because the computers had elevated. And now, this is translated all the way through, after Avatar, into the TV world. And so it's absolutely right. You're getting a higher quality product because the people behind these technicians, the people that really run the business, are coming up with some absolutely fantastic and game-changing ideas and bringing it into our industry.
Lee is right. There's been a lot of progress, and you can get a better idea of what you're acting with now. But it's sort of oddly hard for me because they still haven't figured out how to put Jiminy Cricket in without putting him on a fishing rod and sort of hanging him in front of my face. And now you have a double issue because you have if you really sort of take a second to think about what you're doing, it just brings a smile to your face, number one. And secondly, you have to train your ear to not follow the sound, because Raphael might be off screen doing the sound, or he may not be there, but it's always this sort of, the Jiminy Cricket on the fishing boat. That's so funny.
The blue fairy.
And the blue fairy.
Oh, the blue fairy.
The scene where I had to basically sort of make a wish and decide to become a prickle. She is cute, but I didn't mean to say that. You're talking to literally a stick. You're literally talking to a stick. So some things endure that don't sort of a technology is not touched.
Yeah. We haven't fixed how to figure out how to do a blue fairy. She's smoking hot.
Next question.
All right, we've only got about 5 minutes left here, so
okay.
Hopefully we can keep the answers kind of short and we can get more people through.
All right, I know y'all don't want the show to end because, of course, that's your revenue at the point, but you're dealing with a show with fairy tales, so you're always looking for that happy ending as the audience. Is that something that they're keeping in mind as they're going through making the episodes and shows, or is this something that they're just going to push on as long as they can and then maybe never entertainment.
Yes,
Such a dream.
There's a big difference between what the audience wants and what the audience thinks they want. We all watch TV going like, oh, I hope they'll be happy this time. When in fact, in your heart, you kind of know like, but I want to watch the show for a bunch of years and I don't want them to have a happy ending. And I think a really good solution to that is something that Buffy did over and over. You give Buffy what she wanted, but it comes with a cost that starts a whole new thing over. You all really wanted that curse broken. Hey, the curse is broken. Oh my God, what's that cloud? What's Rumple doing? What's like? So
all magic comes with a price.
Yeah. So you won't see happy endings on our show. It's not all crying. There's characters. Belle found Rumple again. Tremendously happy. But I think you guys know they're probably not just like open up the bread and breakfast and like there's going to be stuff in the future that's going to bring more trauma and more travails, and so it's a mixture. And you never want to just, I mean, until it's the end of season 12, you don't want to sort of have everybody happy all at the same time. Like we know we are yearning for it, but we also want that 12 years, right?
You have a question over here?
We know, of course, obviously, we noticed how you included Alice in Wonderland in the fairy tale world. And I think a lot of us know that Peter Pan is going to be incorporated next season. And I was just wondering, for each of you, if you saw a classic kind of fairy tale universe or story universe incorporated, what would your wish be? I guess?
Who's to say that Pride and Prejudice isn't a fairy tale? I'm voting for Jane Austen. I don't know what about you guys.
I'm voting for the Kama Sutra.
I'm still voting for the Blue Fairy.
I'm voting for Obama.
Next question here.
Yes, my question's for Tony. You were saying that you see a fierceness in Geppetto. Well, there was also a fierceness in Master Braytac on Stargate SG-1, and then there's also that protective instinct in both Braytac and Geppetto. Is there any other similarities that you see between those two characters?
No. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because I guess what I'm saying is Braytac was a type of character. If there was a problem, he'd go out and find a solution for it. It was active, and Geppetto is a much more accepting sort of guy, and he's burdened by his poverty and by so many things, the way his life has been dealt to him until he gets this little boy, but. So consequently, I see Geppetto as more, accepting the burden of life, putting it there, until he has someone to protect. And once he has someone to protect, the fierceness of Braytac and the fierceness of Geppetto are equal in my mind. There's no difference. So, there's no difference. So.
Over there?
Since a lot of the stories in the fairy tale world haven't entirely been told all the way through, especially in that first season, how did you guys kind of show the characters and where they ended up, even though you haven't heard or know all of your own backstory yet? How do you keep that straight and get that to play across and keep it open enough so we can so you guys can add more to the characters as you go?
I think you've sort of seen how we've done it. We reference, we see a character have a certain adventure. We sort of see how that adventure resonates with their current life. But we very rarely fill in every year. We leave room for future adventures that we can go back and tell other stories. I think I had a concern early on of like, gee, aren't we going to run out of fairy tales? Until you realize like, who knows what adventures Snow White had during that time when she was a bandit. We left the timeline a little loose there, so we could go back and we could tell, for instance, a Snow Bandit story. We've done it with lots and lots of stories. There are tales we know nothing of, and they've been left that way on purpose, because these characters hopefully will have a very long future life and a very long backstory life.
It's hard to say. We've got one more left. Sorry.
Hi, I'm going to make this real quick. With excluding the main cast of Emma, Snow White, Prince Charming, is there any particular fairy tale character that you would like to see overlap with your own story?
Everyone seems to like the Blue Fairy.
Yeah. You know, I'm.
That is probably a porno that we should probably not be doing.
I'm gonna sidestep that one. You know, in terms of kind of, I'll be curious, and they've sort of intimated that there's some romance coming to Storybrooke, and I'd be curious kind of where, in Dr. Hopper's case, what his romantic life is, and who that intercepts at. I'd be curious kind of where that takes us, just from my side.
I mean, for me, I trust these guys. You know, it doesn't say writer next to my name, you know? And I think that's real important, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you'll get an actor that's like, well, why am I drinking tea? Well, dude, it says it in the script. You know? And I think there's a time when we do need to shut the brain off. I told you that before. It's like, we don't think about that. You know, our job is to, like, what did they come up with? Okay, now it's our turn. They know what we can do now. They know what we can say and how we can do it. So it's that jazz process of the way we work, right? They do their thing, we do ours. Obviously, we all want to carry the ball. We all want to get off the bench and run for a couple 100 yards and, you know, score 10 touchdowns. I mean, that's the ego behind every actor, and if he denies it, man, well, he's going to get run over by me for sure. So, and I tell you something, that's what's really most thrilling about this cast and getting to work. The honor it is with these gentlemen and the rest of the people is I respect the hell out of them as performers. These are great actors in this show, you know, except for me, but whatever, you know. These dudes are, and I'm telling you, it is a thrill when you toe a mark with Rafa and Tony and Bobby, you know, and Josh. Where did he come from, right? I mean, that dude is a talented guy, right? So we are very lucky when you get in a scene with Lana. So there's so much to explore just within our own relationship of the characters already there that I wouldn't presume to think up anything cool enough that Jane could. She could obviously out-cool me, my brain. I'd rather have her just have her take on it, you know, and leave it to the pros. And I think that's what really is great about this show, is everyone is trusted to do their job. And as long as everyone does their job to the best of the ability, then you just let the chips fall where they may. And I think that's the thrilling thing with our executive producers, our showrunners. They trust us to do that. And that to me is one of the biggest thrills of the business, is when they aren't there. They say, go kids, we give you your toys, go do your job. That's when you want to step up and be counted. That's thrilling.
Thank you so much to Tony, Raphael, and